Hey, my name's Nivik. I'm with Evan, and we're going to be breaking down the chapter The Things They Carry from the novel The Things They Carry by Tim O'Brien. This chapter is named this for an important reason. This is because it shows how the soldiers are carry things both physically and mentally. As shown throughout the chapter, many soldiers are seen to be described as to what they carry with them, as well as many other drugs which they utilize to calm them down and ease their mental trauma and stress. Along this stress causes them to drink about how life would be better outside of the war, with friends, family, and their lovers. So, on top of this, I wanted to add, how do you think the soldiers stayed strong during the war while the lieutenant was distracted by Martha and other stress factors? Do you think any of the soldiers took leadership role or became more dependent on each other?
The soldiers faced challenges of their war throughout the war because of their lieutenant, and I feel um, he did need to take responsibility for not only the death of Ted Lavender, but also being immature in a sense, and not really being there for his soldiers and causing his soldiers to having to support themselves without having a lieutenant there really mentally, because he was really mentally in other places and lacked maturity. Um, from the book, it states a quote: "They share the weight of memory. They took up what others could no longer bear. Often they carried each other, the wounded or weak. They carried infections. They carried chess sets, basketballs, Vietnamese, English dictionaries, bronze stars, purple hearts, plastic cards, and imprinted with the word code of conduct." The states has how the soldiers really carried everything with them when the Lieutenant Jimmy Cross really couldn't be there for them. And I feel like on top of um on top of all the signs and symbols the lieutenant shows throughout this chapter, I feel like it also shows a symbol of how he lacks maturity and is kind of the child, really giving not really giving a leadership role throughout this chapter. I wanted to state another part of the book that happened. It's a part about the story that includes Ted Lavender's death, and how the lieutenant experiences some sense of guilt towards his death. Um, he feels like he should be taking some sort of responsibility, and I wanted to ask you, Nivik, why do you think Ted Lavender, Ted Lavender's death, should be taking responsibility from the lieutenant? Why is it his fault? And in what way does he take responsibility for his death?
Lieutenant Jimmy Cross feels guilty about Ted Lavender's death primarily because he believes that he was distracted and negligent at the time, which led to Lavender's death. However, it is important to note that responsibility is subjective in this situation. Lieutenant Cross believes that if he had more focus on the mission rather than daydreaming about Martha, he could have taken different steps to ensure the safety of his men.
But closing off, I wanted to state how really summarizing this chapter proves that the lieutenant really doesn't have. It shows how he's very immature and not shouldn't really be taking part in a leadership role. As for one, he's more focused on his on Martha being a priority than helping protect his men and protecting people that he's basically in charge of throughout this chapter, and more focused on his love life um, more than this. And I feel like that's a really big factor as to why so many negative occurrences happen, such as Ted Lavender's death, and really these soldiers having to like stand up for themselves and really not have a role model in a sense there for them. Um, um, Throughout this chapter. But yeah, Nivik, do you have anything else you'd like to add?
Nah, that's it. So Thank you for having this conversation with me. I feel like the intro to the chapter of the book can be interpreted in many different ways. But that's all it for today. I appreciate y'all for listening. And this was the Things That Carry chapter review.